All right, no fanfare. So this is the list. We're gonna find out update from Luca. We got talking about the donations, working group formations, working group updates, and then we can get into any questions and other business. So first of all, over to you, Luca.
Yeah,
If you can share any update.
yeah. So since last week, Luca has made some progress. What is that has been done? What is in progress? So Luca, floor is yours. Jump in.
Hi everyone.
Hello, Luca.
Yeah, since last week we basically we needed to clean a couple of things from previous week, and what we work then is on vote function. So basically there will be a function in the vote when you just click vote, you pick your candidate and it will pre-fill everything, so you can just jump on blocks and then just sign it. So this will be like an alternative way that you can call whenever. And that would supposedly work tomorrow. So this is the main update. We are a little bit behind the schedule, like 2 days, but I think it will be fine.
Super.
So yeah.
Other point on the list that you will do also about give SBT in the future. There will be no more dependency with that.
Yeah, okay. We also added like a different there's like another functionality that needed to be added. That was basically we seen basically the last week we talked then with NFT team, I guess.
Yeah.
And Sashit and so on, and we basically realized that GIF SBT will not be called anymore. At least there is no commitment that it will be like a new season or something like that. So the functionality that was done, and we relied on it to basically making sure the people that we basically banned from the group, that they have like a valid SBT. They were relying on that function, on that call, and we basically realized that this will not be able to use that anymore. So we added like a future work when basically we need to change from give SBT to whoever actually voted. So there is like a vote action, and you can via diffuse you can see the history of it, and we can just check basically if people voted in last 9 months. Then we basically reduce the issue of relying on functions that may or might not get used in another season.
Okay, so you are using elect vote now, the elect vote action of the.
Yeah, we are not yet using it, but yeah, we will basically change it from give SBT to elect vote.
To elect vote of the Genesis Eden smart contract. Yeah, action elect vote. Yeah. Okay, super. Thank you, Luca. Nice update, and continue like this. That's perfect. So next point.
If there's no feedback or questions for Luca, then let's move on. Thank you, Luca, for that update. Point number 2 on the agenda is delegate donations. Over to you, Mo.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel. Generally, just to point out that the ddfunds.eden account is functional, and so far we've had Dominic and Nicholas donate their funds for 75% that's been asked. And just to remind everyone that we are expecting that you guys donate those funds, so please do as soon as possible so that we can have a better idea of what funds we have at our disposal. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Mo. Any inputs, any feedback, any questions on that item from the group? Alrighty, moving on. Number 3, working group formation. Patrick or Mo, do you want to speak to that first?
Yeah, so very easy. We have the meeting schedule now that are settled into Telegram. Everyone is knowing now when the working group are held in each working group topic. And there is just an exception for this week. We have the tech dev that was supposed to occur this week on Tuesday, but we were a little bit short with the time. So we have moved for this Thursday, just after this call, 19 UTC. And on next week, that will be again on the Tuesday, the tech and dev. So like the schedule was already mentioned. And I give the mic to Mo for or to you, Gabriel, about the Notion.
Cool. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Just take a couple of minutes here. The next line item is exploration of Notion. For those of you who are not familiar with Notion, it's a kind of a combination of work management and documentation. Previously, Fractally had one. I've seen another thing of an EOS DAO with a few pages, seems to have some backlog stuff. I think maybe that was Dan Larimer's original Notion implementation. But what we're looking at doing is potentially using it for the working groups. And so what I just started kind of playing around with as a demonstration of what this might kind of look like. So here in the sidebar, we've got the team spaces. And so each working group, for example, could have its own space. And if we open up the comms media space, we have a list of things. Here we can add projects. We can give the project a name. We can open up the project and we can add tasks for the project. And then we can open up those tasks one by one. And so the task can have detail in them. And then over on the sidebar, we've got another menu item for tasks. And what I put in that new project is not only available here as a list here and underneath as a Kanban board over here, but it is also, because it's a linked database, it's also then available on the tasks page as well. So it's very complicated, but it makes things work quite simply by adding filters and knowing where we want to go to look. And so we can see, oh, look, there's me assignee. So I could add a filter potentially, like assignee. I can click this filter. I can click on my name, and then I get to see only the stuff that is relevant to me within the projects that I have any tasks with. And each working group can have its own area. So it's a very easy way to have a whole massive complexity of data that is filtered into exactly what we need to see to be organized. There's also documents list that's available, and they've also added recently a new feature called what they call a wiki. And so I've given an example here. In the comms and media space, for example, there might be a few categories such as brand, channels, and content. And then we add pages, and I added a few. Maybe there's a value proposition page, there's a brand design page. And so again, we can add content. You got a / and you can add all sorts of stuff. You can add images and video and code and database and whatever. Highly customizable, but it can also be very, very simple. So just like a note, like we're taking notes and we're developing a library of shared ideas, private per working group. So like the LinkedIn here, which I'm going to preview in a second as well. And then I started playing around with the incubator working group wiki. So here, for example, we might have project scouting, the incubator program itself, due diligence process, a launch pad that we might want to deliver, and funder relations. And so that was just an idea of headings. And inside each heading, then there could be a number of pages. Again, it's very easy to add a page. We just click on the new thing and add the page, and we can give it one of those tags. So say I put this one as funding, And then I've also added these little views at the top here. So if I click on funding, now it filters, so I can only see the pages that are relevant to funding. I can here click on Launchpad and only see the pages relevant to Launchpad. And we can also add additional filters as well. So again, massive amount of data that becomes very easy to navigate, so we can find exactly what we want at the time. So if I open up project invitations, this might be like text, right? Hello, investor. We'd like to intro you to Eden. And so we keep a body of knowledge that we can then, the working group can then use for its purposes. So I think maybe I've made the point. That was a quick demonstration. Keen on input. Obviously, this is each working group can customize their area. So again, this is the generic approach. Projects can have tasks. There's also a section for taking meeting notes. There's the documentation, the wiki, and then there's also like you can play around and have a creative space per working group. Any feedback or questions on that? Feel free to
little add-on on that. Notion is a data source for the Eden cockpit, and the Eden cockpit will use a Zapier plugin that comes with Notion. So every time that something is added in Notion in a table, because all is working with table in Notion, tables like a database. So every time a row is added or deleted into Notion, the Zapier plugin send this information to the cockpit, and the cockpit is updated. Nice integration. So like this, we have KPIs directly updated, à jour, into the cockpit of Eden Onios. And for the investor, they will see this cockpit, they will see the funding page, they will see our results. They have not even to see our meetings. They will see directly what we are doing, producing. That's all.
Great. So yeah, Patrick has good experience with business intelligence, data reporting, and things like that can attach into Notion, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So here Mo, I think, just added the outline of the meeting. So there they are: Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Hopefully that works for everyone. Dan, you got your hand up. Go for it.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel. Thanks so much for sharing this presentation on Notion. I just want to say that I'm also a huge fan and user of Notion. I think it's a really great idea for the Eden community to rally around it. I'm going to share a link in the chat to edencreators.com/Notion, where I've been curating a bunch of discussions that we've had. We've had 3 discussions about Notion at Eden Fractal. So I think it'd be awesome to collaborate. And I agree with what Patrick said. Also, the new Notion projects and Notion AI features are really helpful too. So there's lots of opportunity for growth with Notion. And yeah, I just wanted to share some support for that. And thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, feel free to jump in if there's anyone else. Otherwise, we can move on a little bit. So working group updates.
It doesn't sound like, just real quick, it doesn't sound like there's any rejection, which is great. But I'll just add that it'll be really nice because we can all have visibility too, right? You can not look at what you don't want to look at to avoid just dealing with a lot of bullshit. But at the same time, it'll allow us to be very cross-functional, I think, which is a huge benefit.
Great. All right, working group updates. I'm going to take this first one for the LinkedIn and then I'll hand it over. Am I still sharing screen? No, one sec.
We have already some nice article into this LinkedIn.
Yeah, so we've created it, right? Haven't started sharing it yet, haven't finished branding it, haven't added details, but we've made a start. So the idea is that we're not going to be infighting amongst ourselves and battling for chief delegate and delegate and then funding our own pet projects. We are an organization to involve the rest of the world, and a big obvious social channel for attracting professional talent is LinkedIn. And we have not yet to date done a job of promoting ourselves on LinkedIn. So this is the beginning of doing that. My intention is to help finish this off. So I'm proud of it and we're all proud of it. And then I'm going to add my season 7 chief delegate. And I think I was like L1 delegate 2 terms ago or something like that. I'm going to add those as work experience on my LinkedIn profile, and I will invite everyone else to do the same. Ideally, our association with Eden on EOS, whether we're a circle lead or we're just a member of the community, we're showing that we're participating in important. Hopefully, it will raise our profiles individually to support whatever our career aspirations are, and at the same time, we are also helping to promote Eden on EOS to be able to attract new people into the community. Any further reflections on that from anyone?
A little add-on into this LinkedIn business page, because it is on LinkedIn. It's for B2B. We want to communicate a little bit with the B2B. For example, there is already the video generated by Pictory.ai about Eden on EOS Term 7 and beyond. That is a video generated based on the bylaws of Term 6, the purpose paper, and that has generated a nice video. So that's a perfect video for, let's say, promoting. The chief delegate interview of Mo and Gabriel the other day will be there. And my interviewed by Stefan. That's the perfect place to put those kind of things, because that's to communicate with potential business partners. So that's my little 2 cents about that.
Awesome. So just to finish off this line, so that was the LinkedIn page. We also want to think about in the media group, the Twitter and YouTube and the channels and that stuff. So when we start having the working group meetings, these are part of those conversations. Along with website ownership and updating the website, so we have a clear web presence for the public to be able to attract community members and funders and founders of projects, because we are supporting the EOS ecosystem by attracting projects or founders that want to build inside of the EOS ecosystem. So all of our branding, our messaging, our web presence, channels, website, etc., needs to be updated for that purpose.
Little thing on that, website ownership, for example, edenelections.com, we need the ownership. The YouTube account of that I have the right to publish the video there by Waxa. We need the credential of this YouTube, very important. And for the Twitter, we have already the credential for the Twitter account. That's okay. But we need really to have the credential of everything. So the ownership of every asset. Otherwise, we cannot create, we cannot improve the things.
And part of that is in the governance working group is to understand, maybe there needs to be some bylaw, maybe it's just a code of conduct or implicitly accepted by the bylaws that people who create, like I created the LinkedIn page. I have no intention to stay as sole owner of that page. It's a community asset. So we need the code of conduct or bylaws to create the process that we hand over control of assets to the community. It's not our own possession, and we've got to figure that bit out, right?
Yeah, very important.
I don't know if it's place for that conversation, but just to quickly mention that something that was thrown out initially was the idea of bonds, people putting up bonds in exchange for having ownership of proprietary assets of the community and getting that those funds back once they hand them over to the next party. So that was one proposed way forward. Again, cool. Probably not the place for that discussion, but just simply to add that there.
Totally.
Let's see if Pascal had a question before we move on.
I want just to add on the point of the ownership of social profile. one of the things that we can also add on in terms of researching is to explore Web3 tools, other blockchains, how they can help or manage ownership in terms of group ownership. Web2 will be very difficult, challenging. So let's say a video platform or a Twitter account on Relay, which is on-chain social networks. We can use it as a tool to manage ownership because it's designed for that. It's designed for ownership, group ownership. So it's something that would be good to be looking at, because the primary target market that I see in terms of social is in terms of going out of our community and then get other members is other blockchains. It's those who have already been sold for Web3, and then they have the tools sometimes that we need to use in our community. So it's one of the, or if you want to share what we are doing in terms of governance to them, because they may love what we are doing here, in terms of how we select our leaders. The more we publish our content there, the more they will discover what EOS is in terms of Eden is doing in terms of governance. So it's just a matter of maybe if in the future we can allocate a little bit of time, I can offer myself to do that, do some research in the tools that we can use, which are available, and we can use in our community to manage the issue that we are having here. Because most of them, Web2 will not solve it at this point. So that was the point I wanted to make.
Yeah, I never thought of this angle of things before, I think, but I think what I've heard is that there's so many Web3 half-baked, unsuccessful, but excellent ideas, projects in the Web3 space in general. Maybe they're looking for a better home and they can port over to EOS with us, with the community that we're building as founders. And we need and I think what you're saying is we need to get visibility to other Web3 projects that might want to come over to EOS. That's what I heard.
No, not in that sense, because we have something that we are quote unquote selling. You're selling the governance model, and we have, in my own view of things, one of the best governance model in terms of our community organizes itself. We have it, so it's a product. Now that product, I guess we want it to be known, and we want the product we have to be known by others. And one of the way that we can do it is to, if we have content that we are producing, we can publish in those social platforms to get our product known, because those social platforms, sometimes the target market is crypto guys, it's blockchain people. So the way I have let's say in my case, personal case, I have a profile on LinkedIn. Most of my network on LinkedIn knows that I'm in the blockchain, So when I bring the content there, they know that is what I'm doing. I can publish our governance thing there. At some point, they will connect the dots, they will connect that, okay, this is what he's doing. So I'm trying to say, if we have to work like an organization and we want ourselves to be known in some market, we have to find a way to bring our content to this market also. Not because we have something which is good, So
yeah, so I misunderstood a little bit. You inspired me with that other thought, but yeah, I think there's a question there of who productizes the Eden election process. Is that an Eden on fundamentally it's an Eden on EOS thing, but if we're building it, it's like the Eden of Edens. I don't know which working group that's relevant for, maybe several of them, but yeah, I get the point that we want to productize what we do and see if we can sell it for revenue for the community somehow. So any more reflections on that stuff from anyone? Certainly amazing content for working group conversations coming up soon. Awesome. Thanks for that, Pascal.
Thanks.
Okay, over to Patrick and Mo, Reputation System Finance Administrative.
So Mo.
Well, let me address the reputation system issue, or not issue, I guess. Finally, we've been able to retroactively distribute all of the SBTs starting from season 1 and on. So that's something that we've been in need of since the start of Eden, is to keep track of who's been voting and who's been participating in the elections. So as of this point, everyone that's voted in the elections now has an SBT to justify that, so that we can also build on the reputation and move forward in that aspect. So congratulations to the reputation team and to everyone that was involved in that. Moving on to finance, if there's no questions about the reputation. The SBT, any questions? Well, in terms of the finance side of things, we've also executed the fund distributions for the term 6 working groups. So everyone should have those funds in their accounts now. We've been able to solve the MSIG issue and learned how to do that, thanks to Vlad. So appreciation to him. And now everyone has that, and we're able to also and Patrick, of course. And now we're able to execute more MSIGs in the future. In the future, we now have the ability to issue more MSIGs and do so on our own without relying on external parties. That's something that should also be going into documentation for the next set of chief delegates that will also be able to learn how to do that by themselves. Marco, did you have any questions? Marco?
No question. The account, the funds hitting the account. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just a bit noisy in the background.
Yeah, it's a fan of my computer. It's overworked. I need a better one. All right, so when you'd mentioned the amounts, I said that was totally unexpected. I hadn't realized how much was allocated for showing up. I thought it was going to be split between showing up and production. That was not clear to me at the time. So I had offered 100 EOS back, or 25%. I need a link, and I had said it either to a specific working group, or if that wasn't reasonable, then an overall link back to the whole network, or the micro network that we got going on here. So if you got those links or link, please post it here so I have it and I have a place to send the EOS. And I also put out there that if other people will pledge 50% of the funds they just got, I'll do the same. Otherwise, it's 25%, but I will need a link. I'm not just going to send it, I guess.
Definitely appreciate the sentiment and the idea. I hope that people follow up with your suggestion. I think it's a very good one.
I've got a question. I didn't quite capture the solution that Patrick created.
I have created nothing. We have used msig.app by CryptoLion. That's fantastic tool, and that's work like a charm. You have not to go on blocks.io. That's so complicated on blocks.io. So you go on msig.app website, you choose the EOS network, then you choose the type of msig named transfer tokens. You add the source account, it's wjfunds.eden, and then you choose the account to which you have to send the funds. And into the memo, we write term 6, working group, tech dev, or comms and media, etc. And then when the msig is constituted on msig.app, we download a JSON file that has been created from this msig.app, and we push, yeah baby, on chain, and that's finished. So the most hurdle was just to fill the account and follow the Excel file. So that was very easy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In the future, you can also check the documentation, and you can see that
Yeah.
how it's.
That the giant guide we are working together for sure will be updated with this kind of instruction, and that's good that it is the CDs that have made that, because that's an operational let's say task from a CD to be responsible with the distribution of the funds. So that works exactly as that should be. With no dependencies, those kind of things that we don't want. And by the way, we know how to do it. So now that will be documented. So
Beautiful. Thanks, Patrick.
thank you, Perry.
Do we have any other questions regarding the fund distribution?
Not for me, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then moving on to the administrative side of things, if you haven't seen section 3 of this planning doc, I just remind everyone to please do so and contribute what you can and bring that to the table and inform us of your talents and what working group you might be interested in contributing to.
Quick just intro to this section 3. We may well be moving to Notion, but for the time being, it's just in this Google Doc. So the idea is that we're rallying around these key result areas, which are the kind of the areas of responsibility that we imagine will be involved in these working groups, which Lenny and Mo did all of that work in the previous term to help shape that up, and that's an optimization process as we get going for the current working groups. KPIs are specific metrics that we want to achieve, such as how many views on YouTube we get and that kind of thing. And then the table here is to list the people that are interested in contributing to that working group, particular interests and skills. And then there's a level of commitment. Those commitments might just be, this is what you want to do, even if it's not a project funded by the working group. It's as a participant in the community, this is what you want to commit to doing on behalf of the community. And then from there, we have to then figure out how to do specific project funding, which is how the working groups are going to curate proposals and prioritize things and create budget plans, and then we can execute on those specific things. So this is just kind of a thinking pad for us to put what our ideas are, and then the working groups can start to absorb this into the workflow. So that's that table at the top, that's specific individual interests and accountabilities. The second one is then goals. What do the working groups themselves agree are the goals to achieve for this term? Again, this might well be moved over to Notion, but it's here for the time being. And so that's it. There is quite a lot of content that I can see filling up here. If you haven't yet added anything, then you're a spectator. You're not a we can't recognize anyone as a contributor if you haven't listed your stuff on here. So if you do have things that you want to do specifically for Eden on EOS, then hopefully your name shows up here and you've listed what your areas of interest are. Yeah, those are my thoughts there. Any other reflections?
Some of the people are delegates. Some of the people are not, like myself. Some of them are chief delegates. The compensation is, we haven't, since the bylaws have not been have not been ratified, it's not exactly clear how everybody will be compensated. Is that a fair statement? Yes.
Fair statement. I don't have clarity. I don't know who else feels that there is clarity. I don't know that we have consensus. The idea that I agreed very much with the previous chief delegates was that the bylaws are proposal, and we will hope and aim to ratify them by the end of this term, providing that we have adjustments that the community is in consensus to make right at the beginning of the next term. So hopefully that is what can manifest. So now we're in the gray twilight zone of trying to repoint the ship in a certain direction. We're still curating consensus and feedback and ideas and clarifications and revisions and whatever it is. So there's nothing in my mind, and I think it's fair to say there's nothing set in stone for how anything is compensated. Anyone else want to reflect? Maybe people see it differently, which is fine. Maybe that limbo or gray zone does not feel good enough, which is fine. But now's the opportunity for anyone on the call to share some thoughts and feelings.
From my end, I'd just like to say that I think Gabriel summed up the chief delegate position rather well at this point. We're all trying to coordinate and see how best we can make the adjustments that are necessary that reflect the will of the community. So we're open to getting opinions from people and seeing how best we can make those adjustments.
Just before I go over to you, just a thought in my mind. There is a section on this document called Assumptions, Risks and Questions. Right, liabilities as a VC. I've seen no additional detail on that concern from anyone since it was raised at the election. Length and complexity of bylaws. Dan Singjoy, I remember that being your thing. Maybe I missed it, but I haven't seen anything. We don't have that much time to get this right. So this needs to be an active conversation with anyone who wants to go through this. Lenny owned the previous document, the purpose paper, and has enabled commenting. So if we can just get that link to the purpose paper, anyone can add direct comments into there, so it will show up in the sidebar. So we're having a conversation, active conversation. If it is that 2 more months go by and the chief delegates have to ratify the stuff, then we're probably going to ratify the stuff. And there's not going to have been community participation. So then I'm going to put in my view of what the next set of bylaws need to be, along with Patrick and Mo, so we can make adjustments. We want and need the community to help. If you don't do that, then you've had the opportunity, but you chose not to do that. So do you think the block producers and all that really care? That was an idea from Dominic last time. What's the consensus process used here from Rosemary? These are the issues that we should be working on. A lot of this will move into the working groups, which is great, but it's just to suggest that everyone has the opportunity to participate. Don't complain if you don't participate. Lenny, over to you.
Yeah, first, I just wanted to confirm that what you expressed was 99.9% correct. That yes, indeed. The idea is late approval and then over election, boom, comes ratified again, changed. The trick is to follow the current bylaw. We actually need to ratify 2 weeks and a day before the new election. And then the following day or 1 hour later, put in a new proposal from current terms. So these will hang for 2 weeks, election done, boom, then it's going to be ratified. But we all got to agree on those things, how to do it. And I've started a little bit on the whole bylaw thing. Why I've been quiet is I'm not taking any leads or anything like that, but I've started to go through because things have been raised during discussions. So I've started to mark out certain areas beside the splitting and all these kind of things, just as a piece of information. Thanks.
Thank you, Lenny.
Awesome.
One thing I'd also like to add is the idea that in general, the community that elected the delegates and the chief delegates that they elected during the last election did so giving them basically in consensus and giving them the consent to move forward with the agreement that they were behind and committed to the proposed bylaws, the proposed purpose paper, the proposed dispute resolution document, not with the idea that they would be automatically ratified, but that they would be worked and fine-tuned and adjusted accordingly, but with the idea that that's the direction that we're moving in. So just to kind of frame the discussion moving forward.
And to confirm more statement of now, you have the video just freshly into comms and media topic. And from my Nova Crypto YouTube channel, as always, I do the CD interviews. So all time stamped, and just what you stated more goes into the recording of the video about the bylaws, the fine tuning, and other topics. So go there and watch the video. That's very digest. That's about 30 minutes and 25 minutes, I think. And it's all time stamped. So not a big pain to watch this and to learn.
Great. So that's the end of the agenda. So now we're open community conversation, questions, any topics that people want to raise. So please put your hands up and we'll go around the room and get some thoughts. Perry, you're first. Go for it.
I've got a question for Pascal. I think I heard, Pascal, I heard you mention as some kind of solution for passing on or maintaining assets, like passwords that for different assets. Did you name a specific technology or platform? I wasn't able to hear if you were giving us specifics to that.
There are solutions in the market, but they are early stage solutions. I would not recommend us to directly use them. You know, like I studied the Sui blockchain. They have some social networks where you can come as a community and then own as a community assets. But they are early stage. So my point for us was not to jump on that, just to keep in our mind that some of the problem that we may face in terms of owning our own assets will not come from Web2 solutions. I prefer us to explore Web3 solutions. Even Hive have solution for videos. Where members can participate and then you can have multi-sig there. So it's just
sorry. I just want to say there is a solution on the market now at Keybase that's very well known. The developer Web3 or Web3 are using this into the EOS community, for example, Keybase, to maintain assets, credential. You can classify your asset on a sidebar, and for each asset, you have the credential, you have some notes, all is encrypted, all is with private key authentication, two-factor. So that's very professional solution. Keybase.
Yeah. Thanks,
go ahead, Pascal.
The idea of having working groups, the problem will be solved there. So I prefer to say, let's leave that kind of topic into working groups. Because in those working groups, the solution will come up. But I love the direction we are taking in terms of the way of.
So we leave it to each working group to kind of brainstorm on that idea, or
Tech dev.
Yeah, I saw we have communication and marketing group.
No, tech dev.
Okay. But it's not always technical, Patrick. Sometimes it's like
I know. Yeah.
Sometimes we like the case that Gabriel came up with in terms of Lincoln to create a community group on Lincoln, even on EOS. It's not a technical thing, you know. It's a
mix. It's a mix. Comms and media is the angular working group that is in communication also with the other working group, not just to do the marketing and outreach on the exterior. It's also about internal. So comms and media working group is the place to discuss about the assets, and the tech dev could be also interface with that and choose the best tool that we have on chain and all, because we want to be on chain as always. That's better.
Exactly.
So yeah, 10 minutes to the full hour. Perfect. Popcorn, vodka. I don't know. Okay.
Rosemary.
Hello.
Hello, Rosemary.
I have a question. Would it be possible to create a separate group on the Telegram channel on EOS community where key documents that are pending review from members are listed?
Dangerous. Because we depend of Telegram, we depend of the scan of solution, and it's not on chain. So Keybase is totally independent of all that.
Yeah, I don't think, Rosemary, just clarify, you didn't mean like passwords for access to channels. I think you meant just a list of documents like the purpose paper and the bylaws and these kind of documents, correct?
So she was even meaning proposals in general.
Yeah.
Or I was,
There is no secret with the purpose paper and those kind of things. That's not secret document.
A list, so Dan just made a comment to curate a list of documents and proposals like this in Notion, maybe, yes, but before we start using Notion more widely, we can perhaps use Telegram group as a way to communicate links. For example, I was just looking for the document, the Eden Neo Season 7 plan document, and I could find it in 2 chats, one of which basically it was kind of just a bit harder to find. So I think it will make sense if all the key documents that need reviewing and also dates, key dates by when these need reviewing, to be collated in one place so that it's easy to find.
Yeah, makes it. Go ahead, man.
Can I just say that we do have the proposals topic that I think it was closed though in the Eden Telegram channel.
Should that be, is that something to be active? Like proposals, wouldn't proposals be inside of working groups, or are there proposals that would be outside of working groups?
I think those proposals were meant for chief delegates.
Yeah.
Initially. Given the new structure that we're in, the new organizational format that we're proposing, they would be coming from leads, I assume, which would be the liaisons with the chief delegates. But still, I guess a public channel would be beneficial to have so that people could see what proposals are being proposed and their status.
Happy, like we can reopen that proposals channel if I think maybe that accounts for everything that Rosemary has in mind. What we can absolutely do is make a public published Notion page and have that linked in the Telegram, and then that could be just a list of documents.
Yeah.
So it'd be structured with headings. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, just to say, there is I will publish again because it seems to be that we are always reinventing the wheel. There is a mind map now made Eden dashboard mind map, Eden on EOS dashboard mind map. And this mind map is pointing to the topics in Telegram, is pointing to the purpose paper, that is the white paper, to the dispute resolution, to the bylaw, and now to this beautiful document that Gabriel has made, and maybe that soon that will be in Notion. So there is a mind map. I will publish this mind map again in general topic like this. Everyone will see. And when you have a question where you don't know where is something, you go into the mind map and you can search into the mind map. If you write bylaws, you find the branch into the mind map. And by the way, it's not a mind map made of a myriad of trees. It's just a tree, and you have that on the screen. So I will publish again. And by the way, it's great that we have the document into the respective topic where they should be, and then we need an indexer. And this indexer is the mind map, for example, and the Notion, beautiful Notion that Gabriel has beginning to structure it. So if you want to search something, you can search into Notion. There is a function search. So you will be never lost. We have not to figure out where we have to put the things into Telegram, into the topic. We have just to make structure it correctly. And then we have a nice document management system on top. That's the Notion, that's the mind map, that's the kind of thing. That sounds fair to all the people worries, I think.
Sounds good. Are we opening, just to confirm, are we reopening the proposals Telegram channel? Is that the consensus here, or are we figuring something out besides that?
Lenny mentioned a good point now into the
I can mention it verbally. I took down my hand. No, I've been advocating for a long time. We need a landing page, which then in turn contains all the different resources we have in Eden on EOS. And that's partly what Jon started with a spreadsheet to try to identify. And the things we're using today are still there, but need then to see if we can get ownership. So we need one site. And also we need to remember, not only for us, don't we think beyond the current membership? Then we need it to be very accessible and easy to find for anyone out there who have heard about something Eden on EOS. So we need to expand our minds a bit and think outside the box. Thanks.
Okay. All right, let's park that conversation then. We've only got a few more minutes and we'll carry on in the channels for that stuff. Let's move on. Perry, over to you.
Well, this is quite convenient because that's kind of related to what I was going to bring up. I'm glad, Gabriel, you have stimulated the conversation of whether to keep the old Telegram channel and whether to integrate it with our existing one, and whether we should have it private or public. My feeling on all of that is that we should have one channel, and it should be public to everybody, and only members can post messages. But it should be totally public. With regard to what we were just talking about a moment ago and what Lenny mentioned, which is like a landing page, I think that's a great idea. I think the most minimum landing page possible, kind of like a Drudge Report style, so that it doesn't overwhelm CDs, it doesn't consume a lot of resources, and at the same time it lends itself as best we can to a decentralized community where it's just basically pointing to all the different resources and including mind map and DNews and all the rest. And I'd like to push back to Patrick a little bit. I don't think that we should be that dependent on mind map or any single one at that high level. I think that we all kind of have to, that we're all contributing and we're all adding pieces to the puzzle. I don't think we should put any one particular website in that central of a position if we can avoid it. So, for example, this Drudge style report page could be actually a GitHub page, right? And that would eliminate one set of credentials that are passed between CDs. And so I think that's those are my thoughts on a lot of related items that I'm glad we're talking about. So I'm appreciating that these subjects are being brought up. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Perry. Dan, over to you.
Thanks, Gabriel, and thanks, everybody. I see that Lenny said that the full hour reached, so I'll try to be pretty quick here. Just a great discussion. I also want to just add a bit of support for what Rosemary said. I've been following all the topics as close as I can, and I have my own Notion database with like all the different to-do lists organized, but having a thing like that so that other people don't have to do it, whether it be in Telegram or Notion, I think eventually Notion is a great tool to do that, and perhaps I can also use some of the Notion pages I've already curated to help build that. I think that's a great idea to make it easier for people to follow, and also easier for people to follow the timelines and so forth. I've been trying to make sense of that, so I think that's excellent. And then one other thing I wanted to add was with regard to what Patrick said about being in Telegram, there's topics where you can find these things, but it's also like it'd be great if there was tags. I think Rosemary said if there's a documents or review, like folder tag, but in something like Notion, I think with mind maps and many other tools, you can also make tags you can see across different topics. And then we had an interesting discussion about this at the Eden Fractal meeting this week. Thadas came up with a new idea and a plan called Respect Trees that I shared. I just responded to Patrick's message from like 10 minutes ago. I think you should be able to see it pretty easily, or maybe I'll just copy and paste it below. I don't know exactly how the Zoom chat works if that gets hidden, but that's an idea that could help us organize this, and it's a really interesting idea. So you can see Thadas' document where he shared that, and then we're also producing a video two videos about that, which will come more soon. Thanks for the great call, everybody.
Okay, so there's another Eden community call happening just now. Patrick, you're on mute. So we'll wrap up this one and continue in the channels, the
totally.
Telegram channels. We can have these kind of discussions to continue what we talk about in this weekly call. Thanks, everyone. Catch you soon.
Thank you, everyone, and see you soon. Take care. Go Edenonios.